So y'all, I promised an update from the last candidate forum, and so here it is. Good morning, it's Monday, and it's been 3 days since the forum, which should tell you something not quite right happened, and I needed some time to recover from it. So, supposedly, I had mentioned in my last message that the moderator was going to do a better job of moderating this time, and that there would be the announcement that the candidate forum was not necessarily a debate. It was for Q&A purposes only. So the moderator did that. All was fine and dandy. And I believe I was second in line to give my candidate statement. My opponent went before me because in the last candidate forum, I went first. So he went first. He talked about his experience. All fine and dandy. He's a nice guy. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He actually gave me a shout out in his candidate statement, saying, that he learned from me, etc., which was really nice. So anyway, it comes to my turn to present, and I asked the moderator to share my slides. So about 3 slides into my presentation, I noticed someone doodling on my slide on the whiteboard feature on Zoom, and it just started off kind of small in the left-hand corner, and so I didn't really say anything about it at first. But as I got to my 5th slide, 6th slide, the doodling just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, going around in a circle and a circle. And I noticed that there was like a little nameplate next to the cursor. So I finally just decided to stop my presentation. So I had to stop my presentation and acknowledge that the doodling was getting distracting, and to call out the person who was doodling on my presentation as I was presenting my candidate presentation, statement, whatever. Turns out that the person who was doodling on my presentation as I was presenting was the woman who was initially going to ask me about why I missed the meetings that I missed due to a life-threatening emergency in the first candidate forum. So while they updated the principles of the community and the community guidelines, this person decided to go ahead and just violate that in a way that wasn't clear within the guidelines, so that they really couldn't get called out for it. Clever, right? So I was completely distracted. I had to stop my presentation before I ended it, and I was completely triggered. I asked who it was. They named the person out. I'm not going to say the name right now until things are finalized. They named her out. They put her name in the chat. Several people put her name in the chat, and several people in the chat asked her to stop doing it. But by that time, the scribbling had gotten so big that it was starting to get into the text of my presentation. So was that purposeful or not? I was researching afterwards. You can't do that on Zoom without activating that feature, without pressing a button to activate the feature. And then the person who was doodling on my presentation completely denied it, said they had no idea how to activate that feature, that they were on Zoom on their phone, and that they had the phone up to their ear. And I can believe what I want. So you want to talk about gaslighting. Okay, so me, the activist that I am, I went and I told the anti-racism committee what was going on with the first candidate forum and this one. I think it's really important for them to know that a top leader for a union on the executive board, a statewide representative, is being treated this way in the election. I'm not being given a fair consideration. I was not given a fair chance to present myself. Instead, I've been gaslit in both the candidate forums. The first person making me divulge personal information, violating principles of community and the candidate forum structure, and the second person clearly trying to distract me from my presentation and sabotage my presentation. Yet nobody wants to confirm, nobody wants to admit that it has anything to do with who I am. Edie Ruiz, anti-racist, ethnic studies professor, writing professor, rhetoric professor, but very competent, but I'm Mexican. Okay, so I will also say, just end, this person who was doodling all over my presentation refused to engage in my anti-racist presentation for stewards just like a few days before. refused to do it. Instead of engaging with my question about identifying microaggressions, which came out of my response to how I was treated in the last forum, instead of engaging with it, she decided to share that one of her grievance had claimed racial discrimination, but was actually a terrible person. So she was basically saying that people claim racial discrimination when they're actually just terrible people. In a training about anti-racism, she decided to say that it was a bogus reason. So if that doesn't prove racism, y'all, and bias, I don't know what does. You know, on top of that, one of my own colleagues, a white male at the end, said that the way that I reacted to it, because I said we need anti-bias training, we need representation because of how I was treated in the candidate statement. This white male decides to say that my behavior is dangerous. So talking about gaslighting 101, y'all. I was gaslit to the core. I was sabotaged to the core. And so far, nothing is being done about it except for an apology. So, is this what unions are about? Because when we talk about race and labor, there's a long history there. But yet, a woman of color can't even be supported in her position when she's competent in the position. Because why? Because she's a woman of color. So, that's where we're at, y'all. Things have gotten worse. Things have gotten to the point where I think it's irreparable. And all I can do is keep documenting every day what happens. So, yeah, no, nothing has been done. So what else can I say? It was bullshit.